And we begin with regional matters. President Muhammadu Buhari has strongly warned that with the enormous socio-economic and security challenges confronting West Africa, the sub-region cannot afford another political crisis in the guise of tenure elongation. This was while addressing the 57th extraordinary session of the Authority of ECOWAS Heads of State and Government in Niamey, the Republic of Niger. The president is also worried over the premature adoption of ECO as single currency by French-speaking West African countries, stressing that there is need for them to return to agreed roadmap as foreign interference may not be in the interest of the sub-region. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
Converging on Niamey for the first time under one roof since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, the West African leaders clearly demonstrated their renewed commitment towards strengthening the integration of the ECOWAS sub-region.
In order to ensure peace and security in our common area, we have a duty not only to honor our pledges, but also to develop and implement a joint defense and security policy. I wish to thank the Federal Republic of Nigeria for its recent decision to provide a contribution of $100 million after a similar gesture by UMOA in 2019.
I would like particularly to congratulate President Muhammadu Buhari for leading the regional COVID-19 response efforts.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who addressed the summit in a closed session, expressed worry over attempts by some leaders in West Africa to perpetuate themselves in power beyond constitutional provisions. He advised that such temptations must be resisted and free, fair, as well as credible polls guaranteed, as the sub-region cannot afford another political crisis. On plans towards the actualization of the single currency program, the president said the premature adoption of ECO by the Francophone countries in the sub-region has unnecessarily heightened disaffection and mistrust amongst members. While urging them to return to the agreed roadmap, President Buhari insists that those economic convergence criteria must be based on sound and sustainable macroeconomic fundamentals. And to achieve this, he said, delinking the CFA franc from the Eurozone is the starting point, saying African solutions must be preferred for African problems. The Nigerian leader also touched on terrorism as the greatest security threat in West Africa, saying Nigeria is particularly concerned with the rapidity at which terrorist groups are now working together against the interests of member countries. President Muhammadu Buhari said urgent steps must be taken to review these ugly developments and act decisively on the emergence of early warning signs towards guaranteeing the safety and survival of the sub-region. From Niamey, Republic of Niger, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari, who is the ECOWAS champion on the fight against COVID-19, has formally submitted a situation report on the global pandemic to the West African leaders. He described as gloomy the outlook for the sub-region, saying, however, that collective resolve must be demonstrated towards harnessing the opportunities that come with the pandemic, despite its negative impact on lives and livelihoods. The president said member countries must pool resources together in unity for joint and coordinated efforts to ensure our regional response to the fight against COVID-19. This, he said, would go a long way towards saving the present and future generations from multiple health challenges. He said efforts must also be redoubled in preparing their national economies to withstand impending shocks against prospective multi-sectoral challenges that await the sub-region. President Buhari, however, said this is no easy task, hence the need for the ECOWAS leaders to embrace their collective vision for the future with greater determination, innovative thinking and creativity. The summit also received reports on security and ECOWAS single currency, amongst others. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari says his government is not insensitive to the current economic realities and difficulties people are going through and the very tough economic situation the nation is facing, stressing that government certainly will not inflict hardship on the people. Speaking through Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the opening of our two-day ministerial performance review retreat, the president says he is convinced that if the nation stays focused on its plans, brighter and more prospective days will soon come. President Buhari says ministers and senior officials must accordingly ensure the vigorous and prompt implementation of the economic sustainable plan programs, which will give succor to Nigerians. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
It is just a few days after a year that the ministers had the first retreat right here at the banquet hall of the State House.
Your Excellency,
they are back to review how far they had gone in the implementation of policies, programs and projects to improve the quality of the lives of Nigerians and set Nigeria on the path of prosperity. The president had reiterated the result of the administration to set the stage for lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in the next 10 years.
when we met 1 year ago, little did we know that the world will be in a serious economic, social and health crisis that has left even the major economies of the world in disarray.
While the commitment and dedication is still on course, some unforeseen circumstances had led to the government taking some hard and painful decisions, among which is the removal of petroleum subsidy.
The COVID-19 pandemic has led to a severe downturn in the funds available to finance our budget and has severely hampered our capacity. One of the steps we took at the beginning of the crisis in March, when oil prices collapsed at the height of the global lockdown, was the deregulation of the price of premium motor spirit, such that the benefit of lower prices at the time was passed on to consumers. This was welcomed by all and sundry. The effect of the deregulation is that pump prices of petrol will change with changes in global oil prices. This means, quite regrettably, that as oil prices go higher, we could see some increases in pump price. This is what has happened now. There are several negative consequences if government should even attempt to go back to the business of fixing or subsidizing petroleum prices, or PMS prices. First of all, it will mean a return to the costly subsidy regime. Today, as we've heard, we have 60% less revenues. We simply cannot afford the cost. The second danger is the potential return of fuel queues, which has thankfully become a thing of the past. Nigerians no longer have to endure long queues just to buy petrol, often at highly inflated prices.
This retreat is very important, and participants are urged to accord priority to the deliberations. The outcome of the retreat is expected to pave way to accelerating the delivery of government policies, projects, and programs in the coming years.
And the president also called on ministers and senior officials to accordingly ensure the vigorous and prompt implementation of the economic plan programs, which will give succor to Nigerians. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Let's go environmental now. The 7th September 2020 marks the first United Nations International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies, which highlights that air pollution is now the greatest environmental threat to health, though it is preventable. The day emphasizes availability of solutions and technology to change this and improve air quality, achieve cleaner air for healthier lives, protect nature, and help attain global climate change goals through the engagement of individuals, private companies, and governments. UN General Secretary General Antonio Guterres advocates reinforced environmental standards, policies, and laws that prevent emissions of air pollutants. And at the international level, countries need to cooperate to help one another transition to clean technologies. He urged all countries to use post-COVID-19 recovery packages to support the transition to healthy and sustainable jobs.
Income countries. Air pollution also threatens the economy, food security, and the environment. As we recover from the coronavirus pandemic, the world needs to pay far greater attention to air pollution, which always increases the risks associated with COVID-19. We must also urgently address the deeper threat of climate change. Limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees will help reduce air pollution, death, and disease.
And that's the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Now, away from that, Executive Committee of the Northern Traditional Rulers Council has waded into the search for lasting peace in southern Kaduna with a promise for more decisive collaboration with the federal and Kaduna state governments. Major Adamu reports on the expanded meeting of the council held in Kaduna.
It's a call to action in search for lasting peace in southern Kaduna and indeed across all flashpoints in the northern region. As the Northern Traditional Rulers convene at these pre-independence Northern Traditional Council chambers to deliberate on workable inputs that will aid the cause of sustainable peace in the region.
But I think it's time to put a stop to this madness.
Sultan Saad Abubakar stressing the unacceptability of the recurring crisis in southern Kaduna. This meeting, he says, is a follow-up to the meeting he had recently with Governor Nasir El-Rufai, and the participation goes beyond the statutory 19 northern states and Abuja chairman of Council of Chiefs, as traditional rulers from southern Kaduna and other stakeholders have been invited in search of sustainable peace.
And we believe at the end of this session, we will come up with a position paper. We will come to the Kaduna state government on the best way, or one of the best ways, of finding national solutions to peace and stability, not only in Kaduna state but in other parts of the northern states.
Governor Nasir El-Rufai, who briefed the committee, lamented that mischievous elements are exacerbating the southern Kaduna crisis by injecting ethnic and religious coloration, stressing, however, that with the collaborative efforts of the federal and Kaduna state governments and good-spirited stakeholders, much has been achieved in restoring peace to the area.
Whenever any of these cases of banditry occur in the southern part of Kaduna, some mischievous people deliberately try to make it an ethnic or religious issue, where it is simply an issue of criminals that have been afflicting everyone in many parts of our region.
The governor promised to accord deserving consideration to the envisaged position paper of the traditional rulers. In Kaduna, Majama Adamu, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. More stories in just a moment. Stay with us.
When you get Showmax, you get instant access to full seasons of award-winning series and blockbuster movies.
It's amazing.
You get shows you won't find anywhere else, like Showmax Originals. You get awesome kids shows.
Freaking awesome.
Amazing dockies.
You literally cannot make this up.
And now, you also get world-class sport from Super Sport.
Everything's under control.
All ready and waiting for you to watch online on your smartphone, tablet, desktop, or smart TV, wherever and whenever you like.
Whoa.
So what are you waiting for? Go to showmax.com to sign up. From football seasons to binge-worthy seasons, you'll get it all on Showmax. One platform, endless entertainment.
Thank you for staying with us. India's health ministry reports another daily record of over 90,000 coronavirus cases, bringing the country's total confirmed cases to over 4.2 million. This is just as the world's coronavirus cases hit over 27 million. And here are details with Justin Bem-Unyi.
India, home of the world's fastest growing coronavirus outbreak, has surpassed Brazil to become the country with the second highest number of cases. On Monday, India reported 90,802 new infections, breaking its own record from the day before and taking its total to more than 4.2 million, according to a New York Times database. Brazil is now third with more than 4.1 million cases. In the meantime, colleges and universities are taking hard-nosed steps to curtail the spread of the novel coronavirus and prevent campuses from becoming the latest COVID-19 hotspots. More than 20 New York University students have been suspended for violating COVID-19 conscious safety protocols, while Boston's Northeastern University has dismissed 11 students for defying the orders and plans to keep their tuition. Meanwhile, reports have it that about 150 cases of COVID-19 can be linked back to an indoor wedding ceremony and reception that took place August 7 in Millinocket, Maine. Approximately 65 people attended the August 7th wedding. In other news, China has put its homegrown coronavirus vaccines on display for the first time as the country where the contagion was discovered looks to shape the narrative surrounding the pandemic. High hopes hang on the small vials of liquid on show at a Beijing trade fair this week. Now let's take a look at the numbers from where globally, as at 6 p.m. on Monday, Worldometer statistics indicated 27,354,539 confirmed coronavirus cases, of which 19,424,007 are recoveries and 894,385 deaths. From Africa, 1,301,103 cases have been confirmed, with 1,036,422 recoveries and 31,320 deaths. Out of these numbers, Nigeria has recorded 55,005 cases that come with 43,013 recoveries and 1,057 deaths. And this is where the update on the global pandemic ends. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Justin. Now let's take a look at Nigeria. We have in our studio founder and chief executive officer of In-Country Medicare, Dr. John To Abwide, to speak on the current COVID-19 situation in the country. You're welcome, Dr. John.
Thank you very much. As we've just heard on the news, we have a second wave in some countries. We've heard about the case of India, then you're talking about Brazil.
Yeah, now we're going to talk about Nigeria.
Yes.
Now, in recent weeks, there has been a decline in number of COVID-19 cases in the country. Does that mean that the virus is out of the country, or we are not doing something?
It doesn't mean that the virus is actually out of the country. We should not rest on our own laurels. This is to say that for a number of reasons, the second wave is bound to occur, as we've seen. And this is for several reasons, including either the lockdown is when it is uplifted too early, it exposes, the population for coming down with the disease. Then a new mutant strain of the virus can also come up that it is more deadly. And we've seen this all over the world. It has been reported. As of this time that we're talking, there is no definite treatment for the virus. Neither have we developed a vaccine that is actually made, public. This actually exposes us to the fact that we've not developed the appropriate herd immunity. WHO reported that less than 10% of the world population has developed immunity against the disease, and Nigeria is not an exception. So we should be prepared. How do we get prepared? There must be a robust and higher increase in the numbers of testing, as well as contact, tracing. These are very critical. These are steps that we must embark on. As I'm talking, I'm not sure we have attained, that level.
So what you're saying, Doctor, what you're saying is that a second attack is imminent. Another wave is imminent.
No doubt about that. I've
So
already told
why
you.
must we be very, very worried?
Yeah, we should be concerned. And up to now, you see that the non-pharmaceutical interventions as well as public health measures are not being strictly adhered to. You find people going to high-risk areas where the population is actually dense, like the market. They don't feel like wearing their own mask. These are things we should. Then over time, I think we have also getting relaxed with measures like washing of hands, using the appropriate hand sanitizers. People are going back to this. You'll be surprised if you go to some public places. There is total non-adherence to these non-pharmaceutical interventions, which is key to actually slowing down or preventing us from getting into the second wave. And Nigerians must take this serious. I'm not a prophet of doom, but we must be up and running in adhering to non-pharmaceutical interventions.
So I wanted to ask you, should we maintain the COVID-19 protocols or should we loosen our guards?
Very much so. We should maintain them, and this is this is the strong message. We should maintain them. In addition to maintaining those, I'm also out to say here again, the best way that our body gets protected from any disease is our immune system. People should be more encouraged. People should all invest in getting the appropriate immune boosters, things like vitamin C.
And what do you have to say about testing, sir?
Testing, I said that we need to up-regulate. We need a robust testing, system. I don't know the exact numbers, but a country like ours, we should be talking of testing over 100,000 a day.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. John To Abide, founder and chief executive of In-Country Medicare, for talking to us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Now, the federal government has expressed determination to sustain and improve upon the monthly distribution of food items to IDPs in the Northeast, describing the speculation of hunger in the region as baseless and unfounded. Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk, stated this in Maiduguri soon after a closed-door meeting with some development partners and handing over of food items to Borno State government. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu reports.
Since the outbreak of activities of Boko Haram insurgent in the northeast in 2008 and the resultant effects, the federal government has been evolving ways of providing relief items to the victims at different IDP camps in the region. Although the distribution then was not without some gaps. However, in 2017, the federal government came up with new strategies of door-to-door monthly distribution of food items to the IDPs in the Northeast. Since then, the issue of diversion and racketeering was put to rest. This is a visit of the Humanitarian Affairs Minister with cargo planes, loads of assorted food items to the IDPs in Maiduguri is part of the monthly commitment of the federal government. She said the plight of the less privileged and vulnerable Nigerians is being prioritized by President Muhammadu Buhari, hence the constant distribution of food items across the country, as well as palliatives as a result of COVID-19.
And we have all come to agree with one voice that no population in this country that has been affected by any kind of disaster, either in the Northeast or any other place, that is being faced with starvation. No population in Borno State is being faced with starvation. The government is doing its best. The humanitarian actors are doing their best. But as I mentioned, there are gaps, and we have come now to fill in those gaps.
The Director General of NEMA, Air Vice Marshal Muhammadu Mohammed, directed immediate distribution of the food items in collaboration with the State Emergency Management Agency. From Maiduguri in Borno State, Ilyasu Ali Yakubu, NTA News.
Sports administrators commend federal government for lifting ban on team sports. Olumide Guntola is our guide on sports update.
Football activities and other team sports can resume behind closed doors, but the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development says sporting activities, especially football, will not resume until all stakeholders involved skate through all COVID-19 protocols. Meanwhile, sports administrators and stakeholders continue to commend the federal government for lifting ban on team sports.
For the protocols that may be put in place by the various sporting associations, definitely I believe that I will be able to abide by that.
US Open that is going on right now, there are no fans anywhere, and we are enjoying every bit of it. So if that is what it takes for us to have fun, why not?
I would still suggest if they will still do it as other European and South American nations are doing, with few spectators.
Whoever that is found positive should be isolated.
In basketball, the game of basketball in Africa is set to reach greater heights as panelists on the first ever virtual basketball conference brainstormed on charting the way forward for the game in the continent.
I want to see African clubs on TV every other weekend.
You will only make your players improve when you can use a lot of video feedback.
Get enough compensation or remuneration for our media rights.
In rugby, the Nigerian Rugby Football Federation has expressed readiness to feature at the international engagement with the finalized rugby kits deal with a sports kit manufacturing company.
We're looking forward to having this kit deal extended to other parts of the federation, maybe the clubs.
The deal will increase followership and popularity of the game in Nigeria. From the international scene, some result of the UEFA Nations League matches played